Let's talk about what the legislation actually does. I want to play something that you said back in January about the national debt.
The number one threat to our nation right now is our debt. We take that very seriously. Congress has kicked the can down the road for decades, and we're out of road. And so we understand that it's our responsibility to fix this.
So there are 5 different independent scores of this legislation. Every one of them says that it will increase the deficit somewhere between $3.3 and $4 trillion over the next 10 years. Now, I get you take issue with the Congressional Budget Office and that they don't have dynamic scoring, all this. But this is the emerging consensus among everyone analyzing. They say you're kicking, not only are you kicking the can down the road, but you're making the problem worse. You're adding to the debt.
Well, I think that is dramatically overstated, and here's why. Those same groups can objectively see and acknowledge that this is the largest cut in spending in at least 30 years and arguably of all time. We're cutting over $1.5 trillion in federal spending while we check all the boxes and bring about a pro-growth economy. And the CBO has been panned because, as you said, they don't do dynamic scoring. What that means is they don't account for the growth that will be fostered by all the policies that are in this big piece of legislation. This is not theoretical, Jake. Just remember the last Trump administration. After the first 2 years, we brought about the greatest economy in the history of the world, not just the U.S. The growth was off the charts. It was an average of about 3% of growth in GDP. Why? Because we cut taxes and we cut regulations. We're doing the same thing this time around, but on steroids. This is a much larger package, a much more robust package with all these features that will really get the economy going, because wages will rise, job creators, entrepreneurs, risk takers will have more ability to expand their businesses. U.S. manufacturing onshore is being incentivized. All these things will work together to make the economy grow faster than many of these projections are putting forth. So we're not buying it. We'll see what happens, and we have the evidence to prove it from the past.
President Trump repeatedly insisted he would not touch Medicaid and that Americans would not lose their insurance. Here's what he said just 5 days ago.
We're not changing Medicaid, and we're not changing Medicare, and we're not changing Social Security.
Can you guarantee that your voters who supported the election, particularly working class voters, will not lose health insurance under this bill?
Oh, they won't lose health insurance.
The CBO found that nearly 8 million Americans will, in fact, lose their insurance coverage because of the changes this bill makes to Medicaid. So how do you reconcile that with what President Trump said?
It's directly in line with what the president said. I've said the same. We are not cutting Medicaid in this package. There's a lot of misinformation out there about this, Jake. The numbers of Americans who are affected are those that are entwined in our work to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. And what do I mean by that? You got more than 1.4 million illegal aliens on Medicaid. Medicaid is not intended for non-U.S. citizens. It's intended for the most vulnerable populations of Americans, which is pregnant women and young single mothers, the disabled, the elderly. They are protected in what we're doing because we're preserving the resources for those who need it most. You're talking about 4.8 million able-bodied workers, young men, for example, who are on Medicaid and not working. They are choosing not to work when they can. That is called fraud. They are cheating the system. When you root out those kinds of abuses, you save the resources that are so desperately needed by the people who deserve it and need it most. That's what we're doing, and that's why this is the morality of what we're doing here is precisely right, and it comports with all the public opinion polls. When people ask whether young men, for example, who are able-bodied and have no dependents should be working, everybody says yes, and that's what our package does. So these estimates that you're hearing are accurate, but it's dealing with those numbers of people in the population, and that's going to preserve the program and strengthen it for those who need it most.
So 1.4 million people in your home state of Louisiana are on Medicaid. More than 800,000 receive SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps. Is it your contention that if any of those Louisianans lose their benefits, it's because they shouldn't have been receiving them because they were committing waste, fraud, or abuse?
Yes, my friends, another good old conservative Christian, the good, high and holy Mike Johnson, just sticking it to his own Louisiana supporters. And of course, the rest of the country. And all of this is for the rich. It's while sticking it to people who actually need those benefits, who need Medicaid, who need SNAP, and making bullcrap excuses like it's only illegal aliens. No, it's not just illegal aliens. They are so hypocritical and dishonest. And Trump just says, first thing comes to his head, it just pops out, no, he's lying. So it's going, I thought you said you weren't going to affect people on Medicaid. Oh yeah, it won't affect people on Medicaid. If he says it, I guarantee you it's the opposite that's happening. They're happily sticking it to you to help out the rich who don't need any help. Let this sear in your mind. They're helping people who don't need help. They're taking from the poor, the middle class, lower middle class, who need help. People. It's so sad. So sad. But it's the good old conservative Republican Party. Good old Christians. Good old religious people. Doing what they do best. Being hypocrites. That's all I have for you for today. Thanks for watching.